Radio in TV. Radio in TV. Radio V.
You would not believe your eyes. If 10 million
Live, back on the green carpet at T Radio V. We're going to have a great show tonight. Or I should say today, it's 2 o'clock. It feels like the evening. I got Mike Meeker, extraordinaire music supervisor, Mike, and I've got Dr. Dubin, who's going to talk a little bit about neurofeedback, and I've got Jerry Yellin, who's going to be Skyping in from Operation Warrior Wellness as part of the DLF, the David Lynch Foundation. Mike Stella, right? Did I get
Trella.
that? Trella. I think the Stella beer is probably what I need right now.
Yeah, right.
So tell me, guys, what was it about? I mean, you're the director of the film. What was it that inspired you to want to make a film about war? Or is it about war?
Well, it's really about the people. I mean, when we were inspired when we first saw the original footage we started to get from Afghanistan with Mike and Carlos Becher, who were the only father and son journalist team to ever embed together. And we knew we had something special when a little vignette of some of the footage actually won 2 Emmys, including the News Story Emmy of the Year.
No, I think I saw that. Those
Yeah,
were the guys
from Memorial
that,
Day.
Yes, those are the guys that when that footage, I actually saw that at the International Documentary Association. There was an award show, and they were profiling these 2 guys going into Afghanistan. They were showing the footage. It was intense.
Yeah, I know. The thing that we tried to do.
Hold on, are we having an audio problem?
No, I'm just saying Mike needs a...
Oh, you need a headset.
Headsets.
All right, we'll get him a headset. No problem. Is there a possibility we can get him a headset? We're live. I'm just kidding. Go on. We'll get you one, Mike. No problem.
When we saw this footage, we in my producing partner and co-director Christian Thoreau and I.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we're both from very different backgrounds. I'm Boston. You can't tell from this accent.
Oh, well, you are definitely Boston.
Little liberal, and he is more, Ann Arbor, Texas, and a little bit more right. And we saw this footage and we said, you know something? No one's ever made a non-political view of what these kids these Americans are going through. And we, in making a film, you got to make different than or better than, and we loved a lot of other films.
So what was it though? Like when you look at film and you look at the like, God, man, you think about Afghanistan. We spent trillions of dollars in this war. What was it that gravitated you to want to make this film?
Just a way that we saw that the troops, Marines, Airmen, Navy were being portrayed in the news. Generally had a slant, left or right, based on the news network.
So was it a negative slant, like war is bad? Was that what you were? What were you?
Well, if you're right, it's going to be really heavy support to troops, and not war is bad or good. War is just it's,
war is war.
Yeah, it's what we send our people off to politically. I mean, the people we vote for, the politicians, make the decisions. So we have a hand in it directly.
Of course, yeah.
And when we saw the footage and we talked to Mike, and Mike and Carlos originally didn't want to do it about them. They didn't want to have the father-son angle in the story. And that was imperative because their perspective was unique.
So you're talking about, let's just take me back a little bit. I'm the viewer. I don't know anything about first of all, the film is called The Hornet's Nest, right?
Yes.
It's when you say a father-son, are they both serving in Afghanistan?
They're a father-son embedded journalist team. Mike Becher is a 35-year war correspondent.
Okay.
And he became estranged from his family because when you embed as a war correspondent, which is very similar to the troops, you leave for extended periods of time.
Yes.
And at some point your family calls BS on you and says, you can't be away 300 days a year and keep a family. And we thought there were direct parallels with Mike's story and the story of those who were serving. And when we put it all together, and it took a long time, we have an incredible team. These guys, Mike and Mike.
You have a lot of executive producers.
Yeah, we generally try to break records with when you make films with no money, credits are currency.
I was looking at the amount of executive producers on your credit list. I was just trying to find my buddy Mike Meeker.
Did you see your name on there?
No. But I'm happy to help though, and get the story out. So what is the story of the Hornet's Nest?
Well, the story is a father. The story's about the troops. It's about those who serve. But because a father and son embedded journalist team, the only one to ever do it, shot the footage, their perspective is uniquely different from any other stuff that we ever saw.
That's what I'm trying to find out. So what's unique? What's in there that's going to make us say, wow, I really want to see this film?
Well, these guys had incredible access because Mike, being who he is, was given permission at a time when the networks weren't allowing journalists to embed because they were killing them. Okay, so they've killed 22 or 23 journalists in Afghanistan. The network said no more, and Mike quit his network job to go anyway. And then when he quit his network job, the son, Carlos, said, I'm going with you whether you like it or not. So now you've got a father taking his son to war, and the parallel of the father's perspective is interesting because that parallels all the families that have their kids go to war. And the son, Carlos, is about the same age as most of the troops. So there was a way to thread, in the coverage we had, there was a way to really thread this immersive narrative, action feature film about the people at war, what they're going through, what the troops are going through, what the Afghani people are going through. And when they tell you why they're there, it's very different than when the news tells you why they're there.
Oh, no, I think it's great. I think that's why we got you here, because the carpet's all about, the green card's all about getting the alternative news out there. And the photos, I saw a bunch of photos. God, like the faces, what they're going through. I mean, how many people did you interview?
Well,
or did they interview?
Well, they interviewed a lot of people, and we've interviewed a lot of people. Both these guys have been, go-to players both on the music side and other stuff they've been involved with, including Mike has been directing some recent interviews, as have I. And Mike and his partner Christine, they've been incredible with not just music. When people see this film, we've found that doesn't matter if they're left or right, they really get into a position where they say it's about being American. It's a people film. We were asked at Stanford, we were speaking with Secretary Perry, former Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
And, we've been to some liberal places, we've been to some, middle-of-the-road places, but at Stanford, a woman jumped up and directed a question at us, and she said, is this a war movie or a peace movie? And we really didn't have an answer. We just said it's a people movie. It's ordinary man and woman in extraordinary circumstance, and these kids are in the shit over there. I mean, excuse my language. They're in really bad places, and it's about the person to the left of them, to the right of them. It's about making a difference. It's about, they volunteer to go back, and they keep going back because they won't leave their brothers behind, and that. So we've been told it's a great film on teamwork. It's a great film on, it's non-political, but it's very patriotic because it's just.
Well, is it political? I mean, isn't war political? I mean, how can you say it's not political?
When you get the story, when you hear the story of the troops, it is not a political story. Those guys aren't over there fighting for political reasons. They're over there fighting to keep their brothers alive, and they're fighting to get home to their families.
Okay.
And that is the difference that this film portrays, as opposed to a great big budgeted Hollywood blockbuster war film. This is the real deal.
It's kind of like Steven Spielberg. What was his film that he made? What was it called? Not Metal.
Saving Private
Ryan. Had that same theme where they weren't going to leave their brother behind, and they went to go find Ryan. And what they were going through.
Well, it's interesting that you mention that because the units in the film, the specific, there's two Army units. One is they're both 101st Airborne. One is No Slack, and the other one is called the Rakkasans, and they're very historic units. And the No Slack unit is in Band of Brothers. They're the guys that parachuted in, and they're the ones that held Bastogne against the Nazis and the whole thing going on with Battle of the Bulge. And Mike, you've been, what do you think makes it different than everything else?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is we've been compared sometimes to the found footage trend, that's happened, except those are all, like Blair Witch Project, these Paranormal Activity, those are fake movies. This is real immersive, so I think what makes it unique and the reason it's not political is because you're literally just put in there with them. We don't have this big backstory on why they're there. We're not getting into that, and that's part of why it's not political, So, I mean, you're really just experiencing firsthand what it's like to be there with them on the front line, and that's unique. I mean, you've never been on a front line hearing bullets. You hear bullets go past the camera, and there's not a single sound effect added to this whole movie to enhance the sounds.
So it's a real life documentarian and like of what it's actually like.
And the other thing too is we've gotten to know all the soldiers and their families really well, and every step of the way they've been involved giving us feedback. We've taken that feedback and incorporated it into the film. So that's been another thing that's I think set it apart from a lot of films. Is this is the most, I would say, universally praised and also just accurate representation from the soldier's perspective.
Okay, now I get it. Now I want to break that down. You know what I mean? It's a soldier story, essentially. Yeah. It's from their POV and really taking it home of what war is like. And you were the music. You did the composing. That's correct. And what was that like?
It's been we've been working on this film. What's it been, like 3 years almost now, and it's been an interesting process. I think that music and military, it's become synonymous with country in the last 10 years, and I really didn't want it. We have some great country artists involved. I mean, Winona Judd and her husband Cactus Mosier have been big supporters of the film. They gave us an original song called Follow Me. But as far as the original music I kind of wanted to bring in some different influence because I'm not country. So
where are you from?
I'm from D.C.
Okay.
Via Brooklyn, now L.A. I live here now. So.
And was it challenging in terms of writing the music for this film?
You know what? It's funny. I mean, it's in some ways I think it's I don't want to say easier, but I think it can come more natural when you have like a palette already in front of you to kind of paint with. Like I already have all this amazing footage. You have this inspiration. So as opposed to creating from scratch, like in a band, you're writing an album, you're creating from scratch and trying to find that inspiration. When you already have sort of that framework, it kind of opens things up for you. So I worked with a singer from the band that I was in for since we were like teenagers, and the band is broken up, but we've kind of formed as a duo under the name Politics. It's been a band we've had out of DC for a long time, and we really took almost more of a classic rock approach to this, sort of the theme song of the...
Well, it's so funny because the music in the movie, we're going to be playing a bunch of songs.
Oh, cool.
So we're about to go on commercial break. This is Greg Reitman. We're at T Radio V. We're going to go on break right now. We'll be right back.
Sean Astin here. You may know me from Goonies, Rudy, The Lord of the Rings, but actually my calling is as a political radio show host. So I am proud to announce that I'm bringing my show, Vox Populi Radio, right here to T Radio V, Radio in TV. Thursdays, 12 to 2, live. Did I say that it's live? Live. Call in, tweet in, check in. It's going to be your show.
Hi, this is Danny Woodburn, and you're watching T Radio V. Did it come up? Is it all right? There we go. He's good.
Hey, Cosmo here, inviting you to join me every Saturday, 11 a.m. PST, for another boozy rendition of Historic Holes. We uncover the history and the mystery, the dirt and details, and even some facts and figures behind your favorite drinking establishment. That could be a corner pub, a rickety saloon, an infamous bar or tavern. It's been around so long, it's bound to be a fire hazard. They are all historic holes. From coast to coast and beyond, I'll be joined by actors, comedians, musicians. I even had a plumber on once. That's Historic Holes. I'm your host, Johnny Cosmo, every Saturday at 11 a.m. PST, right here at the future of online broadcasting, T Radio V, and that's radio in TV.
Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
Your measure's not found in how much time you have on this earth.
Okay, we're gonna come back and we're gonna watch that trailer. I guess they didn't. It was buffering. It got stuck in a hole. All right, we're gonna try to grab. My mic is still. Yeah, it's okay. I think we're better now. All right, we're back at T Radio V. This is Greg Reitman on the green carpet. We've got Jerry Yellin from Operation Warrior Wellness from the David Lynch Foundation that we're gonna Skype. And there's Jerry. How you doing, Jerry?
Hang on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think you
I
are.
can hear you.
Okay, I think you're just kind of fading in and fading out. How's that connection, guys? Not too good? Are we going to lose Jerry? Can we bring Jerry back? We want Jerry. Come on.
The mic.
Oh, the mic.
Yeah.
Jerry, can you hear me now? He's gone? All right, we're gonna keep moving on. Well, we'll come back to see if we can get Jerry Yellin, who's from Operation Warrior Wellness. He's out in Vera, Florida. Very interesting organization. They talk about meditation. They talk about healing with war veterans. But instead, we'll just bump it up and we'll talk. We have got Dr. Dubin. We can talk a little bit. Dr. Dubin, where did you go to school?
I went to Rutgers Medical School, and I did a residency for 3 years in emergency medicine in Ohio. Then I went to Boston, was an ER physician at Dorchester Hospital in Kearney. And after doing that for 10 years, I actually encountered the technology that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and was so profoundly impressed by it that I decided it was very important technology, and I left traditional medicine specifically and just to do this technology.
And what is it? What is this? What is it called?
It's called HPN, High Performance Neurofeedback. Discussing neurofeedback would take a little bit, but it's not even traditional neurofeedback. It's a technology that works in a way different than any other. And basically, just briefly how it works, we have a couple sensors on the head that measure electrical activity of the brain, just like an EKG measures electrical activity of the heart. It tracks what your brain waves are doing, which goes into a computer and amplifier, and it sends back an extremely tiny signal to the brain, way too small to notice, for a fraction of a microsecond. And it's shifting as the brain shifts, and it causes a slight fluctuation in the brain's own brain waves and the patterns, and it allows the brain to get out of frozen stuck patterns. It's like a computer rebooting itself. So it doesn't train the brain,
I know, I
it
had the
disentrains
same
the
reaction
brain.
too. I actually went to his office and had the opportunity to experience this nirvana that he's talking about, like how things get stuck. I mean, one of the things, just to sort of cut back, I mean, is PTSD, is post-traumatic stress disorder discussed in the film at all? I mean, is it like?
Well, it's certainly physically experienced by the sailors and the Marines and the Army guys that are there. You know, it's interesting. We just interviewed a sergeant major of the Marine Corps who was a Vietnam era veteran, and he is helping us with the film. And he was telling us that it's interesting. The World War II guys called it one thing, you know, and then they came home to their families and they were back around the table and they were social and they talked about it, right?
Shell shock, right?
Shell shock. That's
Yeah, that goes back to World War I.
Yeah, so shell shock, World War I, World War II,
Right.
and then they talked about he was Vietnam. And his name's Gene Overstreet, and he was saying, you know, they went over there, but when they came back, it was on television. so they could identify with stuff they were seeing every single night on television. And they did talk about it, but it was different, and they called it something else in Vietnam. It was really the first part of PTSD, right? And they said, but now, the way the society is, he said, the guys come back and they get isolated. And they've gone through these incredibly bad, some good, but really bad experiences that they have trapped in their brains and trapped in their soul. And it's really hard to get rid of it unless you talk about it. And the film helps guys talk about it.
That's interesting.
Well,
and what is it about that like?
No, I have a very different take on that, and
let's hear it.
I don't always think talk is even very helpful. First of all, it's not just having exposure to a terrible incident that causes PTSD. Only about maybe 10% of people exposed, either in war or out, actually develop PTSD. Well, the problem is not being exposed
Hold on. Only 10%
Right.
of people that are actually
exposed to something dramatic develop PTSD.
Okay.
Let me explain. The problem is the recovery from the exposure. That normally, when we have a fight or flight response, we're exposed to danger, okay, we deal with it, and then the body returns to equilibrium, to natural balance, to what we call homeostasis. What happens here with those who develop PTSD is they're exposed to the dramatic incident, but they're not able to return back to homeostasis because there's this chronic background fear, for example, staying in war, all right? So their brain actually forgets how to get back to that homeostasis. And in fact, sometimes chronically talking about it can actually keep re-traumatizing. So it's up for discussion how much and when to do talk therapy.
I can totally relate to that, by the way, what you just said. Like, God, you ever been in an argument with somebody and like something happens in the past and you bring it up again and it's like you're just pulling that stuff out of the, you know what I mean? It's like it all comes back up again. So I can totally relate to that. So if you can't talk about it, right? I mean, then like how do you deal with it?
No, well, first you do have to talk about it.
I'm just saying
not
you gotta
saying that.
like, you know what I mean? It's like you got a problem.
I'm just saying once you're stuck with
Okay.
it, that chronically talking about it doesn't necessarily help. And current treatments for PTSD are very inadequate, actually.
When you say inadequate, what do you mean by that?
That probably the one that has been the most tested and gets the formally best results is cognitive behavioral or exposure therapy. But that's very tough to do. Many drop out, and you keep being exposed to what you're terrified of. And it's not an easy or nice way to go.
I wonder, like, just what Dr. Dubin saying when these guys got interviewed and they had to, like, I'm sure it had to have been therapeutic in the sense of just cleansing themselves of that experience. I mean, at a certain point, you know, I mean, like, when they're sharing their stories, right?
Well, I think you gotta really. Most of these guys weren't interviewed after the fact.
Okay.
Most of the interviews with the troops in the film are during the mission.
So it's live action.
So it's live. It's not like, hey, looking back, how did this feel? It's like, that was a heavy day.
It's in the moment. It's not retrospective.
Yeah.
You're physically in that moment.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I'm certainly not a doctor, and I can only tell you by what my experience has been and by other doctors that we've had along the journey. You know, Mike mentioned something that we chose early on not to focus group the film with an NRG and a Nielsen and go have people fill out questionnaires like you normally do when you make a movie. We actually were, some of the officers, and these guys are PhDs and war college guys, and they're like, look it, if you take the film to my Gold Star families, which is a family that's lost a loved one in action, wounded warriors or other guys that were there, guys and girls, we think it will help create closure for them. And they were right on the money, at least as if, you know, because we were worried about having a PTSD incident at a screening because it's very immersive. I mean,
you just analyzed the $1 million word, which is closure. It's like, how do you? I mean, this is what we're talking about, which is great with the movie. It's like here you have a live action film, so you're really not doing that. But now the film's coming out. You know what I mean? And like, what does that look like for them? You know what I mean?
I think it to answer that question, we weren't necessarily expecting the answer that we got from a lot of the Gold Star families that saw it.
No.
They came up to David and Christian after the film just saying, you don't know what you've done. You don't know what you've made here.
Right, and if anything, it's been more of a therapeutic tool as much for the families as it's been for the soldiers, because you know, they get to see it for the for the first time.
And it's the big thing. A lot of times we'll get to a screening and we'll have people that haven't seen it, and like we had some young Marines last night that hadn't seen it, and they'll say they won't speak about it. They're nervous. I mean, we have some guys coming tonight that are very nervous to see it, and then after they see it, they say, "Oh my God, you guys, we can't tell you how important it is that someone made something from our perspective, our point of view, with no judgment."
No, I love that. I'm actually falling in love with your film. I mean, it's like you're taking people to the heart of what war is like. I mean, it's got to be intense.
It's intense, and I'll tell you right now, these guys, his scoring it in music super. The music is incredible. I mean, we have a song in the film called Chariots.
Yeah.
And what do you say when the family is that seeing their son's last day on camera comes up and tells Mike, "Oh my God, God bless you. You have no idea how important it is, the song you wrote for Brian Burgess," which he was bleeding out and dying.
Oh.
And he asked for, "Where's my chariot?" And they call the medevacs, the Blackhawks chariots. Mike, what was that? What's that? How much does that motivate you?
I got like shingles on
What's
my
that?
arm.
How much does it motivate you when someone tells you that you love me, you've inspired me?
It's hard to put into words. I mean, you just feel it's kind of awkward sometimes and also humbling, and when it's like, I'm sitting in the studio, in my room writing a song, and these guys are out there doing this, you can't really equate anything. So it's just been, I don't know what else to say other than it's been humbling that it's had that kind of impact so far with these families, and
I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, I think I'd like to go back to you, Dr. Dubin. So about this device. So you've got this what do you call them? These sensors that and what does it do?
It picks up a signal. This is an EEG, electroencephalogram. This is an EKG, electrocardiogram. Exact same principle, and it sends back to the brain this extremely tiny signal. It's so tiny. If you took a AA battery and just held it against your forehead, this is between 100 and 1,000 times weaker than that. And just for a few seconds. It's actually hard to believe it works. It sort of was discovered, the effect was discovered pretty much by accident. No one thought it up, because it's hard to imagine. In fact, when I heard of it, I ignored it for a year because it sounded so implausible to me. But once I experienced it and started treating patients, it was dramatic. With regard to PTSD, what you begin to see change right away in the first session, often within seconds, actually. That one of the many things it does is it reduces the fight or flight response, okay? We call the sympathetic nervous system. And it raises the parasympathetic nervous system, that homeostatic relaxed state. And you can just see it visibly. Their bodies relax, their faces relax, often their voices get a little deeper. They take a deep sigh, and they feel it right away.
See, what I think is going to be interesting, now that you got this immersive, real-life war film, right? Like this brother story coming home. Like, I wonder, how our troops are going to respond to it. You know what I mean? Like, is it going to, you know what I mean? Like, what kind of feedback have you gotten on that? Are we cutting already? I don't get my answer to that question, do I?
Coming back.
All right, we're going to come back.
Let me just set this up real quick. This song was recorded by Mike Trella here with Matthew Green and Blue Miller, and it was written by Doc Britt Jacobs, one of the specialists who...
Medic.
He's in the film.
He's a medic. He's in the film.
And what's it called?
It's called Follow You Home.
Follow You Home. That's what we're going to listen to right now. All right, guys, this is Greg Reitman on the green carpet. We'll be right back. We're going to get that answer question.
You can't find good folks today in the killing fields. Battle steals them all away. And I raise my...
Join Dave Navarro and friends for Dark Matter, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on T Radio V.
Dave Navarro here, Dark Matter Radio, TRadioV.com.
The universe is vast, enormous, huge, full of stars, planets, and matter. Some of the matter is so dense that not even light escapes.
Get on the mic, get on the mic, get on the mic, get on the mic, Frank. Pardon me, sir, pardon my reach. See, and you guys were worried. I think this is going great. Pardon my reach. Get the away from me, dude.
You are really beautiful.
Thanks, you guys.
one of the most beautiful people I've ever known.
This is pretty much every week. He brings in a guest that tells him how beautiful he is.
Pardon my reach? If you have to reach over me, then don't do it.
He is the straightest gay guy I know.
Dave Navarro signing off. Dark Matter. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Dark Matter with Dave Navarro, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on T Radio V.
Hi, I'm Dina Ruggieri, co-author of Children of War, The Mike Rodriguez Story, and founder of Growth Foundation. Growth Foundation is a nonprofit here in Hollywood that provides services to at-risk youth. The vision of Growth is to assist youth in developing the confidence necessary for academic achievement, self-sufficiency, and overall well-being. Not only was Mike Rodriguez a volunteer at Growth Foundation, but he also worked on Skid Row to help other addicts off the streets and into treatment. A portion of each sale of Children of War, The Mike Rodriguez Story, is dedicated to a scholarship fund in Mike's name to help youth achieve their personal and educational goals. Belief in oneself becomes possible when one...
Well, howdy, I'm Miss Laura, host of Miss Laura's Civil Wars. We do it every Saturday at 10 a.m. We talk about what's in the news that everybody's fussing and fighting about this week, because y'all are rude. We have a roundtable of media experts, and we bring in celebrity guests from the world of entertainment. So join us on Miss Laura's Civil Wars every Saturday at 10 a.m. on TRadiov.com. Radio and TV.
Hey, what's up? I am Scott.
And I am Ken. We are not the Chemical Brothers, but we are the Crystal Method. And you are watching T Radio V.
Hi, I'm Sheriff John Bonnell. You're watching T Radio. Radio and TV? What? Perfect. That was perfect. Why are you asking me to do this after 12 drinks?
Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
All is calm, all is well. I'm here because of you who fell. Laying it on the road of honor, heroes past.
God, I love this music.
Sacrifice.
Unbelievable. We're back on the green carpet at T Radio V. So who's singing here?
That's Matthew. That's a singer that I've worked with for years. And like we said, this is a song by Britt Jacobs, Doc Britt Jacobs, a medic for No Slack, and he's one of the featured soldiers in the movie.
Wow. And this is an original song?
This is an original song by him that he sent me, and then we worked with Cactus Mosier, who's Winona Judd's husband and drummer, down in Nashville, and kind of took his song and produced it, and it's on our soundtrack.
Wow. So you guys have a soundtrack?
Yeah,
Hold on. We got a film with a soundtrack?
I know, right?
What's going on here?
Doesn't happen anymore.
We've got some really cool artists on the soundtrack. We've got a great song from Winona Judd, and it's her debut collaboration with producer husband Cactus Mosier.
Okay.
Awesome song.
And what's the song called?
It's called Follow Me.
Follow Me.
Now we've got.
Is that what we just heard?
No, that was Follow You Home.
Okay.
Now we've got a former Army Ranger, Kenny Thomas, who was actually in the battle of which was Black Hawk Down.
Okay.
A decorated Ranger and incredible person who now does public speaking as well as he's a country music star. We've got a great song from him called Hold the Line. We've got a guy named Pete Scobell, who was a Navy SEAL for 17 years.
Navy SEAL Team 6.
He actually was part of the rescue unit that saved Captain Phillips. So,
Hold on one second. I think I got somebody. Can we pull in Jerry Yellin? Because I think he's actually a warrior too, by the way. He served.
That's right.
Jerry, do we have you?
I'm here.
Oh my God. We got Jerry, yeah. Jerry,
Yeah, right.
How are you?
I'm good.
So Jerry, tell us, where did you serve in the
Well, I was 3 weeks into my 21st year when I landed a P-51 on Iwo Jima. 8 square miles of land, 67,000 Japanese. There were 28,000 bodies laying around by the time that battle was over. And when on April 7th, 1945, I flew the first land-based mission flown escorting B-29s over Japan. I flew 19 missions from Iwo Jima over Japan. I flew with 16 guys who didn't come back. And for 30 years after the war, when I was 21 years old till I was 51 years old, I didn't have a life. No one who has not been in combat can understand the military. We prepare, we practice, and we perform to do one thing, to kill. I was raised, thou shalt not kill. And there were 16 million of us that went into World War II to kill. And when you go for 23 cumulative years, as we've done in Iraq and Afghanistan, and 3 million people continue to go back there, 2 million into combat, and all they're there to do is to kill and to protect their buddies. This is what causes tremendous, tremendous damage to the human psyche, to the human being. You can forget all the medical terms. There's no learning to unkill once you've done it.
Oh, interesting. So Jerry, let me ask you a question. So what was the impetus setting up Operation Warrior Wellness?
I had a young friend of mine in Vero Beach, Florida. I knew his mother quite well. I had met him a few times. And in 2010, he, as a veteran from Bosnia, put a .45 to his head in front of his mother's house and killed himself.
Oh, God.
I had learned Transcendental Meditation in 1975 and got my life back, got some semblance of my life back. So Operation Warrior Wellness was started in the spring of 2010 to teach veterans Transcendental Meditation.
And what did you find? And what did you find, Jerry, when you were doing that?
What was that?
What happened? What were the signs when the veterans started to meditate? They started doing TM.
Well, it's an immediate change. Veterans don't sleep very well. They don't like to talk about their experiences, even to their buddies. I never spoke for 40 years. I didn't speak until...
Time out, Jerry. You didn't talk about this for 40 years?
Well, maybe more. I only talked to my family. They knew 3 things. They knew that I was a fighter pilot. They knew I was flew P-51. And they knew I bailed out of a P-40 on March 10th, 1944, and spent 8 hours in a life raft. That was it. But in 1983, when I was 63 years old, I went to Japan unwillingly. And the Japanese I saw were human beings. I hated them all of my life. And we gave a present to our youngest son of a trip to Japan. So he went there for 1 year in 1984 to teach English for 1 year. He hasn't come back yet. And in 1987, we went there to see him. He told us he was going to get married.
To what? To a Japanese wife?
To a Japanese woman. The father of the Japanese
love, not war.
wouldn't meet my son. Took 7 months. When he met him, he asked him 5 questions. He said, "How old is your father?" He said, 63. Was he in the war? Yes. What did he do? He was a pilot. What did he fly? P-50. Where? Over Japan. End of meeting. He went home and told his wife, "Make the wedding." And she said, "Why? We hate them. They hate us." And he told his wife, "Any man that could fly a P-51 against the Japanese and live must be a brave man, and I want the blood of that man to flow through the veins of our grandchildren." So on March 6, 1988, this kamikaze pilot and I became family. And I found out that all the world is exactly the same. All human beings are exactly the same. If the sperm of my son could fertilize the egg of my enemy, it led me to believe that universally, all men and all women in all faiths of all lives, if a Jewish guy can become the grandfather of Japanese kids, that we are all the same. And this war that we're fighting is a war of the State Department. It's not a war. We don't have any enemies. We created the enemies. We invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, Vietnam, all of these places. And war is only about killing and protecting your buddies. That's all it's about. And profit. Huge, huge profit.
Oh, I was going to say a lot of profiting going on. A lot of profit.
Yeah, a lot of profit. So
a lot of profit.
My story, I'm a universalist now. I don't believe in any one religion. I believe in the quality of nature that we have. And they told us we were the greatest generation. Well, what we did that was great is we rebuilt Japan and we rebuilt Germany into democracies. That's the greatest thing that we did. Fighting for your country, we'll always do that. Fighting these other kinds of war are certainly not something that we should do on a regular basis.
You know, it's,
we have to get to the kids, Greg.
No, I know. So Jerry, I want to do this because I got a couple more minutes, and I don't want to cut you off too much. But we're going to do our fourth segment. We're going to come back on commercial, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the things that people can do when dealing with. I guess the whole thing is about closure, right? Like they're going to have closure when they see the film. Isn't that what I'm getting from this? They're going to see the film, and a lot of stuff's going to come up for them.
Well, they're going to get if you're a veteran and you were physically there, and we've had other veterans from guys going back to World War II that have seen the film, and they said, no one's made something that's from our perspective that's just about us. We're not saying war is good or war is bad. I mean, the greatest war film is the greatest peace film. Very candidly, the warriors that are over there that are bearing, like Jerry did, bearing the burden in the front lines on behalf of our country, don't choose to go there and say, hey, I'm going to sign up for the military, but I'm only going to go to Florida. I'm only going to go to Hawaii. I'm not going to go to where the politicians who we elect send us.
No, but I think what's really interesting, though, is you've made a film, whether you realize it or not, that's going to bring closure.
Yeah.
Because it's really going to enable what Jerry's saying is that we're all the same and what war does, and you're bringing it home. I mean, you've captured something like I'm truly like thank you for being here because it's really amazing. You've captured like a lot. Like I said, it's not interviewing them. You've captured alive.
It's the closest thing that a civilian who, like Jerry pointed out, has never been in war can get to experiencing what our men and women in service experience and go through. We have no idea.
Yeah,
you have no idea.
Oh God, I know.
No idea. None of us do if you haven't been there. And what this film does is just bring us all one step closer together.
Cool.
It shows real. Here's what we've been told by the guys who were there. It shows real valor, not active valor. It shows real valor. It's beyond bravery. It's beyond courage. And a lot of the guys and girls we talk to that are in the film and around the film say, they obviously, if they're soldiers or Marines and they have a gun, they're in a responsible position. If they have to kill someone, they will. But they also talk about the people that they save, or even we have on camera, the guys going out of their way to save the Afghan kids. I mean, they do stuff that's just beyond what we expect, and the public hasn't ever seen anything like this.
Well, I'm super. So we're gonna go back to commercial, but hopefully we're gonna get this trailer. We're gonna hopefully get it going. I'm gonna see it personally about getting it online. But when is this film gonna be debuting? When are you guys going out theatrically?
Well, we're rolling out, so we start like Lone Survivor did. We're gonna be in 4 theaters, Dallas and Oklahoma, and then we expand. And hopefully Memorial Day we're in hundreds of screens, and we hope to stay until July 4th.
Great. All right, we're gonna come back. This is Greg Reitman on the green carpet at T Radio V. We're gonna cut on commercial. And what's this track, Mike?
This is Tears of War by Phil Vandal.
My brother's on the ground. No one knows just why.
Drums. Do you like drums?
Drummers. Tell them about the show. Come on.
Well, we like interviewing only the best drummers in the world on Drum Smack TV. Isn't that
best.
Right?
The best.
Only the best. Only the best.
And then Brad. We interview Brad every week. But we actually talk about drums and drumming and drummers.
Check it out. It's an informal, interactive show that's all about drums, drummers, and drumming. Please check it out. It's pretty rad.
Smacking. That's a good one.
Smacking.
That's the drums. That's the smack.
Smack.
Are we all smacking?
Smack. Only on T Radio V. Drum Smack TV. Watch it. It's funny and good and all that stuff.
And smack.
And Brad will be there too.
That's right.
What's up, y'all? It's E. Don.
And I'm David Pink.
And we are the hosts of the Real Talk Show that airs every Tuesday.
You so serious?
Real life, real topics, real subjects.
Shop Talk, David Pink.
Real
Yes.
people.
Taking over.
Your
Which
homie Don Juan providing the vibes.
Oh, yeah, he does every week.
Oh, man, we
What's
need
up,
y'all
Don
to tune
Juan?
in every Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 7. T Radio V. Radio and TV.
It is radio.
Radio and TV.
You're crazy.
Let's do another one.
I'm Zoe Williams.
And I'm Dr. Mark Goulston. I'm Jeff Brown.
And we make up the Zoe What Morning Show. You can find us here on TRadiov.com every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I make you think.
He makes you laugh, and if I get a chance, I'll help you change.
Or make you cry with his attempts at humor.
Radio in TV.
Can you relate? We'll make it happen.
Look at you. What you doing?
Were you mumbling to yourself?
Hey, back there mumbling.
To them. To them.
Hi, this is Slim Jim Phantom, and you got the big beat. We're gonna take this music into the 22nd century. We deal exclusively in rockabilly music. Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Richie Valens, Wanda Jackson, Janice Martin, the Everly Brothers, Johnny Cash, and everybody else. Thank you so much for supporting the big beat here on T Radio V.
He's the most interesting man in the world.
No, really, he is.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, it's always with hot chicks.
Langdon Nation, saving the world one dirty joke at a time. Saturdays from 1 to 3, exclusively on T Radio V.
T Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
While religion dies, I've slept in so many towns, I've smiled at so many frowns. Wish I could come home now, but these guys they still have room. And I know there's people watching, yet I feel I'm all alone. I do this for my family, the saddest part is I'm never home. No, I will never falter, I don't know where I'm bound to roam. These moments that I've captured get back to the ones I know. Look up when the night is wide, protect the angry sky. I hear this global cry growing louder through the night. And please don't feel you're forgotten. We can move ahead in this world so often. We refuse to make amends. Let it doesn't matter what's been done. No, it doesn't matter what's been done, or even what's been said. When the sky turns
Absolutely amazing. And Michael, what was that song?
It's called When the Sky Turns Red. It's off the soundtrack and featured in the movie.
Amazing, amazing. I want to see if we can grab Jerry Yellin back on the show. Can we get Jerry? Is that all right? We're going to see if we can get Jerry. I'm sure. I didn't mean to cut the poor guy
Jerry?
off. Yeah, here you are. Sorry about
What's
that,
up, Jerry?
Jerry. No, we don't got his audio. We can't hear him.
Can't hear it.
Now we can. You're good.
I flew with 16 guys that didn't come back. The oldest one was about 26 years old. You think about that. I had 3 wingmen shot down off my wing. I lived, they didn't. My weapon was a P-51. and I used it to kill Japanese. And then they became family. Figure it out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Any questions?
Well, no, I think, the thing about what we're getting at on this particular show is, like, how do you get closure? Like what you just said.
Well, you get closure to have something that you can live with for yourself. I don't know if any athletes ever had a zone experience in anything you've ever done. Even being on the radio or making the film, that isn't what you think, it's how the brain functions. And transcendental meditation is not a what, it's not a belief, it's not a religion, it's a technique that allows you to go into the deeper self and relieves you the stress that we all go through when we've been in combat. It's good for firemen, first responders, it just works. It's a relief of stress. And believe me, post-traumatic stress disorder is not even a good enough term. It's a post-traumatic war injury, just the same as getting injured if you were hit by a bullet. And the government today is spending about $1.5 billion per month for the next 600 months for antidepressants and antipsychotic drugs. And if I had 1 month of that money, I could teach 1.5 million veterans transcendental meditation and give them a tool that lets them overcome their stress, get some sleep at night. You don't need drugs to do it. It's that kind of a tool. Lets you get into the zone of yourself.
Jerry, thank you for serving, and you guys are the greatest generation. You just talked about the drugs. We get a lot of calls from families that there's 22 suicides a day right now in this country. Every day.
I want to read something. It says, check it out. My buddy Mike just gave us. He said the suicide rate among vets and active duty military had jumped to 22 a day, almost 1 an hour, as reported by the Department of Veterans Affairs. Hello. I mean, unbelievable.
Well, what Jerry's talking about and what David, Dr. D is talking about over here, we're trying different things to work to help these kids, to help our heroes. Right now they're getting a drug cocktail. We have a Marine family we're dealing with right now that they're our family, and their son killed himself. And he was taking just a massive amount of these cocktails the government gives these kids. And it doesn't, if you look at the side effects you see just on TV with the ads that run for antidepressants, it's like 87 things you get from taking this drug. So how about mixing 3 or 4 of them?
Well, how about taking Dr. Dubin's neurofeedback? I mean, go into a session. I mean, that works.
I think Dr. Dubin and Jerry should put a thing together, and then that stuff will help people. I mean, that's out there.
What do you find when you've been doing your stuff? You've been working with some of the NFL players, who have had brain injuries. What have you found, Dr. Dubin?
Well, we're talking about PTSD, but some people with brain injuries also develop PTSD. And in fact, if you have both, you're more likely to develop PTSD if you do have a brain injury. And the technology and approach that I described works extremely well for at least moderate to severe traumatic brain injury. And so to prove that, we've started a formal study where I'm treating 20 former NFL football players. And almost all of them have significant problems emotionally with anger, irritation, losing control of their moods. Cognitively, almost universally, they have memory problems. And then with their body, a lot of them have loss of poor balance, hypersensitivity to cold and sound. And all those, except for memory. Memory, I'm finding the most difficult thing to get back to any degree. Wow. But all the emotional things, it's no different than in PTSD in terms of its response to treatment. It starts to improve right away, the first session.
So take me back. So hear all these things, right? They're real life things that people are going through. Now you're going to take out the film, right? It's going to go out. When are we going out theatrically?
So the film is rolling out
what day?
It starts May 9th.
May 9th.
May 9th. We're in
Dallas?
In 3 theaters in Dallas and 1 in Oklahoma City, and then the next week we're in 25 theaters, and the next week we're in up to several hundred theaters, and we hope between Memorial Day and the 4th of July we're going to buck the trend, and we're going to be, the little sleeper, the film that makes a difference and stays in theaters
And what do
against the Spider-Mans and these other
And
films
what
that are
are
out
you
there.
and what are you gonna do when people are gonna be in these theaters? Like how is there gonna be like a call to action? Or
Yes. Absolutely.
What is it gonna be when they're coming out? What do you want people to take away from the film? What can we actually do to help our veterans that have served our country, that have given their lives? What's the plan?
Well, the great thing that the film has people say is they all say everyone American needs to see this, and then they say, how can we help? And Mike and his team, we've been putting together a whole group of things that we're going to do.
The other thing too is we've had such an amazing amount of sponsors. Easter Seals, the USO, Oakley,
talking to
great
Infinite Hero.
great organizations and charities, NPOs that have jumped in and
Operation
supported,
Restored Warrior.
Carried the load.
TAPS.
There's so many that are behind this, film, supporting it, and we've been doing events. We've done events with Easter Seals, USO, American Airlines,
Intrepid.
actually one of our great sponsors, and all of these people obviously have amazing outreach programs. Infinite Heroes, Carry the Load.
But what's the thing? Is there is there a give back that we can do?
Well,
or
one of the things that
what
we're
is
doing
it?
on the music side, Mike and I, working on the soundtrack, a major part of the proceeds are going to a military charity that's that help with TBI and PTSD.
Oh, that's great. Are we going commercial already? Wow. We are wrapping, guys. Our hour is up. I don't believe it.
Quick.
I just want to thank all of you for coming on the green carpet. I tell you, it's a quick hour, right? Unbelievable. This is Greg Reitman at T Radio V on the green carpet. Peace. He said 5. That must have been 5 seconds. That was more like 5 seconds.
It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, 'cause everything is never as it seems. 'Cause I get
You are watching T Radio V, Radio and TV.